Welcome to Dog Life Radio.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Rossi Giugio coming at ya with Dog Life Radio, episode number 47. Oh, my God. We have got somebody coming on the show today that I've been planning this and working on this one for a long time. And I am super, super excited to have the Primal Swoledier, Eric Leija, on the show today. This is, I'm gushing, I know it. This is so freaking cool. All right, so anyway, for those of you who don't know who Eric Leija is, you probably would recognize his Instagram as the Primal Swoledier. He has got some serious badass shit out there. Primal Swoledier, Swoledier. He is killing it. He is not only on its senior kettlebell coach. You can check him out at ericleija.com. That's ERICLEIJA.com. You can get Primal over there. He is a kick-ass kettlebell proponent, but even more than kettlebells. It's just so much more than that. But anyway, he's a killer coach over there. He's got a YouTube channel, Facebook, online kettlebell coaching. He does certifications, training courses. Plus, like I said before, his Instagram kicks ass. He's got fantastic stuff on there all the time. I know I integrate it into my workouts all the time. Literally all the time. Anyway, so he was a super cool guy to talk with. I was really looking forward to it. Very thankful he took the time out of his ridiculously busy schedule to talk to me. We spoke just before Thanksgiving, so we hit on all the things you would hope to talk to Eric about. Things like coaching, things like kettlebells, things like bodyweight training, all types of training, how he got into it, what he's doing, some of his favorite cheat foods, because that I love to eat and I wanted to know. So we were talking about it. It was awesome. But before we get into that, I just want to throw a thanks out to longtime supporters of the podcast, Absolute Nutrition Center over in Chicopee, Massachusetts. Not just a supplement store. Jim is running something special over there. He's a fantastic guy, super supportive of the podcast. Also, really knows his shit when it comes to supplements, nutrition, diet, programming, everything and anything to do with wanting to get yourself to that next level. So check them out over there in Chicopee, Mass. Check them out online as well, Absolute Nutrition Center. So with that, we are going to come back with a couple of paying the bills. From Death Wish Coffee, longtime sponsor of the show. And then we'll come back with the, it's not going to be a podcast you should be listening to this week. This week it's going to be the documentary that you should have watched. And if you haven't, you should watch it. So with that, we'll be right back.
Whoa, how did we get on this podcast?
I'm not sure, but I like it here.
It's pretty great, but we should probably tell everyone about our own podcast, Fueled by Deathcast.
Hell yeah. Comes out every Thursday from the Death Wish Coffee Company, the world's strongest coffee.
Every week you can hear me, the Incredible Jeff.
And me, the amazing D-Man.
And we talk about new science discoveries, breaking news from Death Wish Coffee, and we welcome a special guest from rock stars to astronauts and ask them all the question, what fuels you?
The podcast is available right on deathwishcoffee.com and wherever podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Music, Stitcher, and more.
Plus, you can now watch it live on the Death Wish Coffee Company page on Facebook and watch all our videos over on YouTube.
All right. Now you know all about Fueled by Deathcast and how you can listen to it.
But first, let's finish this podcast.
Let's get back to the show.
Now's part of the show where I get to remind you that you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Dog Life Radio. And if you are such a diehard fan of the show, remember, you can now get merchandise. That's right, Dog Life Radio merchandise. Just go to sixsquirrelstudios.com and check out the store. That is 6, squirrel, singular, SQUIRREL, studios.com. When you get there, take a look at the upper right-hand part of the screen, and you will see the Six Squirrel Studios store. Check it out. You can get T-shirts, stickers, hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff. So get your Dog Life Radio merchandise there. And lastly, not only do I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show, remember to subscribe or follow, depending on, I guess, whichever podcasting service you utilize, but also drop me a rating on iTunes. Hit me up with a 4 or 5 star rating. It's the best way for people to hear and find my show. That's aside from you guys spreading the good word. And as always, don't be shy about sending me some feedback at dogliferadio@yahoo.com. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Rossi. And now, before we jump in, one more word. Always remember Death Wish Coffee, the strongest coffee on the planet. Check them out. They've got 2 different blends. They have got their flagship called Death Wish Coffee, a little bit stronger and bolder. I love that, as well as their Odin Force Valhalla Java, a little bit more milder, at least in my opinion. Also, still kick ass in the caffeine department. 100% not a gimmick coffee. Check them out at deathwishcoffee.com. You can also get their shit online at the other sources. Also, they have got Death Wish Coffee chocolate. I'll be testing that out for sure in the not too distant future. Now, with that being said, Ronnie Coleman, the King. Check it out. It is on Netflix. It is a fantastic documentary about Ronnie Coleman, what he did to get to where he wanted to get in terms of the world of bodybuilding, pushing himself further and further than pretty much anybody else. Check it out. Ronnie Coleman, the King. Fantastic documentary. Now, one last word before we turn it over to Rossi and Eric, and I can't believe it. It was friggin' awesome. He's such a cool guy. We ended up doing this one kind of face-to-face over Skype, which added a different nuance that I actually got to look him in the face because most of my conversations are just audio and we don't have the videos going, but we had the video going, made it a really cool conversation. I really hope you enjoy this one. I know you will. Check him out again at his website, ericleija.com. Check him out on it, and believe me, you will not regret taking a peek at his Instagram page as well. And with that being said, let's turn it over to Rossi and Eric.
Here we go. All right, so this is Dog Life Radio. I got to tell you, Eric, this is an episode that I have been waiting for a long time. I am so proud to announce we have got Eric Leija, the Primal Swoledier, on the show with us today.
I'm excited to be here. What's up, everybody?
All right. So I know I am a huge fan, a huge follower of yours, Eric. I've been watching a lot of your YouTube videos, follow you on social media, got your website going as well. But just to level set, give a little bit of background for people, how did you get into kettlebells in the world of fitness, training, and helping people along in their journeys?
Well, I used to train in mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing when I was growing up. And so, I got to train with some of the best in the world, a lot of these UFC fighters. And I got to see how they were training, and they were using real unconventional type tools like kettlebells, battle ropes, and these like crazy bodyweight techniques that I wasn't familiar with. And so I kind of just picked up that practice as I was training for martial arts.
Awesome. Now, did you have like an immediate affinity to using some of these unconventional weights, whether it's the bells or maces or anything along those lines?
No, I didn't. I was already into like bodybuilding routines, just kind of training for aesthetics, and like conventional lifts like squats, bench press, shoulder presses, all the good stuff. But then as I jumped into MMA training and martial arts, I realized that training wasn't transferring over well into my sparring and in my training. I was getting tired. The strength that I had wasn't really working. I was getting beat up by people half my size. So I paid attention to what the pros were doing, and they were doing all these unconventional, more functional type techniques. And I picked up on that, started incorporating it, and kind of realized, man, this is like more applicable because it's so like real time, real world. I can get into these similar positions and add load to them and really challenge my body in a way that it can adapt and make me better at the sport that I'm trying to get better at. So I got better at the sport, and I just kind of kept doing it because it kept working for me.
Yeah, obviously. So, yeah, it's an interesting path the way that you described it, how I would imagine a lot of people get involved into health and fitness and exercise, and they're using the traditional weights, like you said, the bench and the squat and the deadlift, whether they're power lifters or not. But the way that you were talking about how you notice it wasn't necessarily transferring over to something that was more functional or more, I don't want to say useful, but just something that you could use in everyday life, like being able to move around in an uneven plane, being able to lift things that are not like on that perfect bar in front of you. So I think a lot of people come to that realization and try to make that movement into non-conventional training methods.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of benefit to doing normal lifts. Like, you'll get strong really fast. And, you know, a lot of those movements, they're super applicable to everyday life. You know, we push things around, we lift things, so on and so forth. But to really be well-rounded, you kind of have to mix it up and try these different moves that will help you kind of be a whole, more optimal mover, you know?
Absolutely. Kind of like when you were talking about with your training with MMA, kind of liken it to that aspect where you could go in and become an expert at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you'll be awesome. But if you're in the ring against somebody in an MMA perspective, you're not well-rounded. And if it hits the ground, maybe you'll be fine. But like you were saying, to get that full picture, being able to hit different areas and different elements of strength training that sometimes dumbbells and barbells don't hit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they don't work. You know, I still incorporate that kind of stuff into my training. But growing up, that's all I did. You know, that was my bread and butter. And I was always in pain. I wasn't really having fun in my training. I didn't look forward to working out. You know, I looked forward to getting some results, but working out was boring, doing the same old routines all the time. And, you know, it was just, I was developing all this pain all over in my joints, my back. And when I finally decided to really focus on being more functional, using kettlebells, doing mobility and durability into my routines, I was able to not only move and become stronger in different ranges of motion, but I was also able to take the lifts, those conventional lifts, and take those to the next level as well, because I became stronger all around.
So by adding...
example,
go ahead. Yeah.
So let's say, like you said, you have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, right? He's fucking whooping everybody's ass. But then you get this other black belt who's been doing strength training. He can squat, he can deadlift, he can snatch a kettlebell, and he's just a little bit stronger. He's probably going to beat the other guy up if they're on a similar level, and he's just got that strength advantage.
Yep.
So if I can give myself, you know, mobility advantages, I'm going to be able to be a lot healthier and last a lot longer in my training if I focus on being a well-balanced athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. I see, like, just being able to, like, when you take a lift like the squat, which is, you know, one of the all-round fundamentals. It's a cornerstone, you know, builds all kinds of fantastic strength throughout the entire body. But there's different stabilizers and balance within the core that sometimes don't get hit as well. So I can see you definitely building up the strength and all those accessory muscles and body movements in some of the non-conventional methods, so it would definitely improve your squatting.
Oh, for sure. One of the things we like to go through in our kettlebell certifications on it is, you know, teaching people that the butt wink that everybody's so scared of is not the worst thing in the world. You know, if it's under maximal loads, then yeah, it could be really bad. But if you're training with a light kettlebell and exploring that range, you know, it can actually make you more aware and, like, ready to be in that position when you are under that maximum load. Let's say you slip up, your spine slips, and you don't get hurt because you've been in that position before. Maybe not in as heavy of a load, but your body's more aware, and it can help you prevent injury by accessing these different ranges of motion under these sub-maximal loads.
See, that's interesting. Now, you mentioned something that I forgot to mention at the beginning of this, that you're a senior kettlebell instructor and coach over at On It. You want to go into a little bit of what that entails and what you're doing over there?
Yeah, so at the On It certifications, we like to teach people all the fundamentals of the fundamental movement patterns: squat, hinge, push, pull, as well as the more advanced kettlebell techniques like the swing, the snatch, and how to do some kettlebell flowing, which is what we feel like our clients have to earn. You know, once you build the foundation and you have solid technique on your fundamentals, then we recommend, it's all right to explore and flow and put different combinations together so you can not only, have a fun workout, but you can use it as a tool to assess your body, where it's at, where you're uncomfortable, where you're comfortable, find your weaknesses, find your strengths under these sub-maximal loads. So you can go back to the drawing board later on and then program that into your training so you can not only build up your strong points, but also work on your strengths or your weaknesses. So for me, I love kettlebell flowing because, I get a badass calorie burning workout, but I also try new things and like lighter loads so that I can see where I'm at. That way I can go back to the drawing board and then work on those weaknesses later on.
Absolutely. I got to say, I love following your Instagram because of the different flows that you're putting on there. They're great ideas. I've been integrating them into my workouts. One thing that I did notice is recently you've been adding in some dumbbell stuff as opposed to just solely using kettlebells, as well as a lot of mobility stretching and training, specifically with some of the shoulders as well.
So here's what, the last few years, I started doing mostly only kettlebell training because I was tired of doing dumbbells, barbells. I didn't really know much more besides all those basic moves like bicep curls, tricep extensions, barbell bench press. And then using a kettlebell kind of allowed me to explore because it was such a, it was just a weight with a handle on it.
Yep.
You can hold it in all kinds of different positions and really experiment. And that really opened my eyes to all the different movements that are accessible in my fitness. And now I'm not scared to go back and use barbells, dumbbells, all the conventional tools because I feel like I'm more aware of my body.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have done that with a steel mace, with steel clubs, or just body weight only. I could have been doing just like going to dance classes and becoming more aware of my body positioning or doing animal flow and just becoming more aware of my center, my core, and being familiar with being able to have a really strong structure. But unfortunately, I did it with kettlebells. That just happened to be the tool that I liked. It was easily accessible, and I just mixed it up, experimented, and it really opened my eyes. Now I'm going back to dumbbells and barbells because they help me achieve different results that are a little bit harder to achieve with kettlebells. Like I'm able to go a lot heavier with a barbell because, the heavier kettlebell gets, it either becomes really big or the handle becomes super uncomfortable, and it can be kind of hard to, perform maximal lifts, which I find benefit in, But back in the day, that's all I was doing. I was crushing my back, doing heavy squats and deadlifts. And it wasn't until I started doing mobility and durability within my training that I really started seeing even better results. I was in a lot less pain, and I was more aware of what was going on with my body, so I was able to lift heavier weights.
Yep.
Because I was able to irradiate more tension and activate more muscles, that I wasn't aware of.
Yep. So you are not an old guy at all. You're a young man, not nearly as old as I am. But when I go back and start to think about where I started out with lifting and what was popular in the media, because there was no social media when I was young, it was definitely what you were just describing. It was, heavy stuff like Iron Addicts in the gym kind of a thing. Now, it's interesting because right now I feel like there's just so much more information out there, and you're talking about these things like, different movements, the stretching, the mobility, and then you were even talking about dance and taking that into a fashion of exercise and fitness. Do you integrate that into your workout routine, or is that just more of a hobby and fun?
More of a hobby and fun, if I'm out having fun. I like to dance, I like to eat good dinner and go have the time of my life and just get jiggy with it, you know?
Okay, I can relate. I do not dance, but I understand where you're coming from.
I'm not the best dancer, but I'm not afraid to shake my ass and spin my girl around and have a good time.
Cool.
You know? It's fun.
Very cool. So when you go out and you're out eating some good food and it's just, you know, a night to reward yourself, what are you eating? What's your meal?
Usually something really greasy. You know, I'm Mexican. I love Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite spots here in Austin is this place called ATX Cocina.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had my doubts when it first opened. I was like, man, no way. I'm Mexican. My grandma makes the best food.
Yep.
Man, I went there after one of our certs to go, you know, check it out. Man, it blew me away. So good.
Must be if it's taking the wind in your sails there.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, Grandma, you better watch out. They're coming after that title.
Yeah.
Good. I love like a good queso fundido, which is Oaxaca cheese and chorizo.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like this almost mozzarella, like really melted cheese with chorizo and all the good stuff. Get the guac on the side, and then a badass like a short rib or a carne asada.
Yep.
Tend to go for the beef. You know, I'm not afraid to eat meat.
Yep.
You know, in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of slows down my digestion a little bit, but I like it. Tastes good.
Cool.
A little bit here and there.
Yeah. So like, okay, so on like your normal diet, if that's what you're doing when you're going out and you want to reward yourself, what kind of nutritional approach do you take normally?
Whatever I can cook myself at home. You know, home cooked meals.
Yep.
Earth grown nutrients, like, you know, tons of green leafy veggies,
Mm-hmm.
tons of fruits, raw nuts, avocados. I love fish like salmon and tuna,
Mm-hmm.
eggs. I stay away from chicken just because I grew up eating way too much chicken because I thought that was all you should eat to be in shape, you know?
Yep. I remember those days.
In high school and college, I had a George Foreman grill. I would take those suckers, those boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and just fucking grill the shit out of them.
Uh-huh.
Those things dry with some nasty brown rice. I hate brown rice now too. I can't eat that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I remember the days of chicken, rice, and I think it was usually broccoli on the side, and it was steamed, and it was just like, oh God, I can't. But that's it. That was everything you were supposed to eat. Skinless chicken. It wasn't even like a nice chicken leg, you know, some dark meat with a crispy skin. Couldn't eat that. And then the rice and the I think it was broccoli was like a staple. And
Yeah,
God,
sure. The broccoli was.
it's tough to get chicken down these days. I know it's probably tainted it for a lot of my listeners too, a lot of your fans.
No, but I love pork. I love bacon, breakfast sausage. I could eat breakfast every meal of the day. You know, eggs, bacon, and sausage.
I think some of the best protein and fat sources right there. You just hit it.
Yeah.
Eggs are good. I love whole eggs.
So good. So easy to make. You know?
That too. That too.
I
Cool.
love spicy food.
Oh
I
yeah.
love salsas. I love throwing some chilies in my eggs. You know, makes a difference, especially if I'm trying to lean out.
Mhm.
You know, I kind of have to limit myself to like the quantity of my food and like the quality of the food. You know, usually around this time of year, I'll kind of eat as many carbs as I want, as many different types of proteins I want, like steak or beef, fish, and all the good pork, unlimited amounts. But during like the summer, when I kind of want to stay lean
Mhm.
and shoot some like dope content videos, then I kind of have to do a lot less calories. And to really enjoy the food that I'm eating, I try to eat with a lot of spices like salsas. I love that. I could live off salsa.
No, salsa is definitely one of my favorite condiments. I was just going to ask you so we're recording this, we're right the week of Thanksgiving, typically a big eating week at least in the U.S. anyway. Do you have any big plans for the holiday week?
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to hang out with some of the gym crew. Coach Sean Wolf, my brother, John Wood's family, and my girlfriend, and I think a few other of the trainers are going to be showing up. So we'll all be hanging out, celebrating together, and then in the evening I'll go hang out with my family.
Very cool.
My mom and dad, they don't like turkey. So we're going to probably make a bunch of Mexican food.
I would prefer it. I know what you're saying. I'm Italian, so it's usually, you get the turkey thing, but it's like I think I'd rather have meatballs.
Oh, yeah, sure. Made spaghetti last night and had some badass pizza.
There's nothing wrong with it, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
man,
you
nothing
okay?
wrong with it.
So you're in your like bulking, your carb loading type of a phase. It was funny because if anybody who follows you on Instagram, I don't think I've ever seen one of your posts where you're wearing a shirt. So I'm thinking, no matter how much you're eating, you got to keep yourself in good shape because you were talking about shooting content, whether it's stuff for your social media or for your specific website, not even the On It website. I've got it up here behind me here, the ericleija.com website. You've got fantastic content there as well. It's got to be a challenge to keep yourself in that kind of a tip-top shape. I mean, you're like a friggin' specimen.
Oh, yeah. It's fun, man. Having to, maintain for the content. But recently I'm actually coming out with some stuff where it's kind of cold in the gym, so I'm wearing a shirt, wearing a sweater, it's not that big of a deal. So people might be surprised, but it's not a big deal. But during the summer, which is most of the year in Texas, I'm usually half naked, trying to save up some laundry.
I was gonna say I thought maybe you get a couple more eyes on you. I know you're pretty bodied up there and everything, and even you got the sweater. It's okay. I'll still follow and still watch the stuff. I know. I think when we were trying to set up some time to get together and talk, I was emailing you some of the ladies at my gym. I saw them doing some of your flows, and there are two of them in particular. They were doing it I could have videoed it and it could have been boom posted. They were doing it perfectly, and I said, hey, where did you learn that flow? And they're like, oh, this guy, Primal Swoledier. And I said, oh, my God, I know him. I'm going to talk to him.
Oh, that's cool.
So I know they will be following you regardless of having the shirt on or not.
That's awesome. I love hearing that.
So talk to me about your website. We know you're doing some work with On It and doing the certifications there, but you've got a lot of great content on your own website. What's happening in that space?
So I actually have a kettlebell course that's pretty much the On It kettlebell certification with my own little twist on it. My favorite exercises are thrown in there, a couple different flows and complexes that people can put together for workouts. Some mobility and durability techniques are also mixed in there to help people warm up and cool down properly. So it's my kettlebell course is pretty much my main product on my website to help people really get their kettlebell technique down. Because I also have a subscription that's like $10 a month where I upload 12 new workouts a month programmed for a whole month, which are full gym, kettlebell only, and body weight only workouts that people can use, at their own leisure or follow the program that I put together. So that's why I launched with my kettlebell course first to help people kind of update themselves with the technique so that they can jump right into the full workouts that I like to do, because a lot of it is kettlebell based.
Yep.
And I also have workshop dates on there because I like to, me and my girlfriend, and usually we have a guest trainer. We go and travel and teach people workshops so we can kind of connect with the community and give them that one-on-one time.
That's cool. So what kind of upcoming workshops? Do you have anything planned in the next couple of months?
Next month, or actually next weekend, we're going to Dover, New Hampshire at this kettlebell gym out there, so that'll be fun. And January 20th, I think, we're going to Denver, and then February 20-something, we're going to Nashville.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I've never been there, so I'm excited.
Dude, Nashville's awesome. I've been to Nashville a handful of times. Talk about good food. Man, right down on the strip, the main strip, they've got, it's nothing but like honky-tonk bars with great music, dancing, but there's also so much good food. I mean, I've had everything down there from really good sushi to barbecue, ribs, the whole nine.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. I have a client who owns a couple bars here in Austin who's actually opening up a spot over there, so he said it's popping off over there, so I'm excited to check out the night scene and the food.
Yes, you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. That's a good place. That's so cool. So all that information is on your website. If anybody wanted to take a listen, if they wanted to take a look, and then you're obviously you're adding in different spots where as you're coming up with new workshops, you're putting it up on the website as well.
Yeah, for sure. We also go to Miami in March, and probably go back to New York in April.
Very cool.
So we'll be all over the place. So if you guys want to come to a workshop, I highly recommend it.
So
one time.
If you're going to go and do a workshop like in any of these places, is this so you typically do? Is this like an all-day thing, a full weekend thing? What type? What could people expect?
5-hour workshop.
5-hour workshop.
Yeah, highly intensive, tons of information, and a lot of fun.
Very cool. So I saw some of the pictures. It's like you're in there, you're doing it, you're working out. You've got people such as yourself in there. When you're saying hands-on, like corrective, when it comes to demonstration on the moves, and you're going to be walking out learning a lot more. And after 5 hours, I would imagine you're going to be burning some serious calories.
Oh yeah, for sure. We like to put people through a workout at the end, which is a lot of fun. Kind of combining all the stuff that they learn.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, I forgot to ask you this. When it comes to your own training, do you incorporate rest days into your training into your regular schedule?
Oh, of course. It doesn't have to be a complete down day. Sometimes I do just do nothing.
Yep.
Get a lot of sleep, chill, catch up on emails. But most of the time, my rest days are like active recovery.
Yep.
I'll go walk around a lot, go run some errands where I'm kind of moving around a lot, or go hiking, go swimming, go do a kickboxing class where I learn a new skill. It's all about like just keeping my body moving, but not stressing it too much like I do in my training.
See, now that's an interesting point right there, because I know a lot of times when people will hear the term taking a rest day, they're thinking, great, I'm just going to sit on the couch and eat. I'm not going to do anything. But there's a couple of different ways that you were just describing how you integrate it, and you're doing, active mobility where you're moving. You're just not like pushing yourself to a limit in the gym. Do you do like maybe yoga or any meditation on those days as well?
Yeah, I don't do yoga, but I do the mobility training that we like to coach over here at Haunted, which is usually an hour and a half of a little bit of foam rolling, a little bit of stretching, like FRC type PNF stretching, and cars, like joint rotations, mobility flows, combining different moves together to make sure I'm, kind of using what I got, because I'm a firm believer in if you don't use it, you'll lose it, or you're going to get hurt, or develop deficiencies or bad habits. So I want to make sure that, we train, we stress. Training is stressing the body to be able to come back and build positive adaptations.
Yep.
So the only way to build those positive adaptations is to recover, and then come back, and then try to keep pushing that limit. And sometimes, it's good to recover strong with mobility practice. So you could do yoga, you could do the Arnold Academy durability type training. You can go do some animal flow, just low intensity movement to help you, keep everything moving and kind of try to access those stiff areas or those parts that might not be moving, functioning so well.
See, I wish I had known that kind of thing when I was much younger and just starting to get into exercising, because I'm a firm believer even on rest days, at a minimum, doing some type of low-intensity stretching, some dynamic movements, not like box jumps, but like movement stretches where you're kind of not just doing static stretching at a minimum, just because I think like after you stress your body and your muscles, they naturally will get sore to an extent. And then sometimes if you don't recover fast enough and you start working out again, your body's going to overcompensate, and it could like throw your alignment, your back off, something like that. Your hips and your hip flexors and the lower back. Man, if you don't take care of that and keep it nice and loose and stretched out, that can impact everything. You're just in pain.
Yeah, you can only get away with that for so long. I used to train hard every day, all the time, and I would never stretch, never warm up, never do any recovery days. I would just chill, play video games, eat pizza, fast food, and and then get back to the gym the next day, thinking, oh, okay, I rested yesterday, I'm ready to go. And yeah, I would feel good, I'd feel fresh, you know, I'll lift heavy weight, and I would get stronger, but over time, it built up.
Yep.
My pain got worse and worse, and eventually, I felt like I was like handicapped, man. I was in so much pain that I didn't want to train. I hated training. I didn't look forward to it. The results weren't worth it. And it wasn't until I really, you know, experienced and got all this knowledge from all the coaches around me on it that I started practicing a more holistic approach to my working out, my fitness, and really focused on being more optimal and well-rounded. And in doing that, I was able to become even stronger than I was before.
Absolutely, man. You know, you were talking about warming up too. Like we were talking about stretching and stuff on your off days, but warming up, I think, is another piece that's just totally underutilized. At least in my experience, from what I've seen, people just not taking enough time to get thoroughly loosened up and warmed up before they're jumping into a heavy workout.
Yeah, I place a big importance on that with myself and my clients. Sometimes I jump right into it, but probably because I've already been stretching all day, you know, with my clients, or just in the morning I did some mobility.
Yep.
You know, I never jump into anything cold.
See, and I think it's even more important when you're talking about maybe doing some flows, doing some kettlebell movements, maces, or something like that, because, you know, you can stretch out, like, you know, your chest and do a little bit of chest stretching and then jump into a chest pec deck machine, only isolating that one spot. But with a kettlebell flow, you're activating so many different muscles and tendons over your entire body. It's really important to make sure your full body's warmed. Even got a little bit of a sweat going, you know?
Oh, for sure. You really got to make sure you're ready for that hard work. And you can't just jump into all these different positions that you've never done before or you're just becoming familiar with. You know, you have to make sure you're ready for that kind of stuff.
So what do you think are some of the more common beginner mistakes? People that are jumping in, they want to start doing some of the training, they see your videos, they hear this podcast, they want to do it. What are the big things to avoid?
I would avoid, you know, just jumping into really heavy weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can get a lot of juice out of a lightweight. You know, if you can make lightweight seem heavy, then you're going to make eventually heavyweight feel light, because you really, you know, grease the groove in those techniques and becoming familiar with those different weights, those lighter weights, and those different positions. Then eventually, you know, you can lift up heavier weights without risking injury. You know, a lot of guys think, oh, I can lift, you know, I can shoulder press 100-pound dumbbells, I can shoulder press a 40-kilo kettlebell, but it's a totally different ball game, you know. So with any new thing, you know, just start from the bottom. There's no shame in that. That's how you're going to get better. You got to build that foundation, and that's only going to make you better.
Absolutely agree. You know, and that mentality about, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody, you know, being humble and open and listening to people and not knowing. I have found that the world of health and fitness, at least the current world, the one that I've been exposed to, the people are phenomenal, like yourself. I mean, taking the time out of your day to sit down and talk with me. People are so open, and it's like this whole mindfulness thing where people are happy to share and happy to sit down and learn. And as you're going through your journey in health and fitness, are you finding similar experiences?
Oh yeah, I'm constantly surrounded by the coolest people, like-minded individuals who are on a path of just being happy, man.
Yeah.
They're not nobody's overbearing, trying to fucking like throw everything in your face, trying to prove that their system is the best, or that they know better, or try this is going to be better for you. You know, it comes from a place of exploration and just sharing knowledge.
Yep.
You know, everybody's going through a different experience. We all see things from a different perspective, and that's the most valuable thing, because we can share different methods, different tools that are essentially affecting the same type of movement. You know, we're all just human beings. There's only so many different ways you can articulate this machine, but when you see things from multiple perspectives, even if it's the same move, you might see a different language that you might understand a little bit better, and it will resonate with you, and you can really see the benefit and get the most out of it. So that's why I try not to have a dogmatic approach to my training. I like to be open to all types of things, and I try new things all the time. And if it works for me, I keep it. If it doesn't, I don't trash it.
Yep.
Maybe later on it'll work for me. I don't make fun of it. I don't talk crap. It just didn't work for me now. Maybe later on I will see after I keep learning and growing. So I don't close myself off from anything. I just use what works right now, and I try to get better at things that I'm not so good at.
No, I think it's a really healthy approach, man. It's funny because, I know different points in my life where, you've got people, where they're I guess maybe they'll build up these walls and they get a bit more defensive on it, and it wasn't okay to be humble and to not know the answers, where I feel like that's totally a different dynamic in today's environment, where I feel like it is a much more helpful environment, a much more nurturing environment, where, like I said, like if I reach out to people, they'll sit down and talk with me. They're willing to help and share people out. Like right now, this is just for us having a great conversation. And it's I think it's a really good thing to see people opening their minds to these different ways of doing things. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, for sure. Growing up, I realized real quick that being stubborn and thinking my way was the only way was actually wrong. Maybe it worked for me, and I got a lot of really good benefit from it. But when I tried teaching other people, try to convince them that they should try what I was doing because it was working so well for me, it didn't work because I was the only one that felt like I was so right about it. Mm-hmm. So I only had so many ways to communicate that. It wasn't until that I started opening myself up to other people's methods and how they achieved their goals that I was able to not only get better myself, but also share, because I had a new vocabulary to share information. And that goes for all the things that we go through.
Yeah, and I would imagine with the amount of people that you're in contact with, the amount of people that you're touching through all these different things, you've just got like this incredible amount of opportunity to learn from your clients and from the people, the classes. I would imagine that there's fantastic things going on in all of those spaces.
Oh yeah, early on when I was a younger coach, like 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of didn't respect that.
Yeah.
I didn't see the value in the different types of people I was training. I kind of just saw, this new guy. Oh, look, this new guy who's gonna mess up the whole flow of the class. But later on, I was like, wait, it's gonna challenge me to not only accommodate everyone, but also help others who need help too. They're paying customers.
Yep.
They pay to be here. I better make sure that they get what they came for, and that made me a better coach because it gave me the skill to be able to multi-manage. And from there, I realized, man, by focusing on this new person, not only am I not being a bad guy, but I'm also learning a new skill. I'm seeing a different mover, and I'm able to learn a new vocabulary to coach somebody new to something that everybody else is already good at. It helps me keep stepping my game up,
Yeah,
instead of just
that's very cool.
Comfortable with the same crowd all the time.
See, and that's that getting challenging yourself with each person being a new individual at a different stage and different piece, where it just reminds me of this space in the nutrition, like everything that's coming out in terms of different diets, and how there isn't a one size fits all because everybody's bodies react differently to foods. And the way you were just describing, the way you were approaching your classes made me think of that, because you're like going, I'm approaching my class, it's not a one size fits all, because even if I got this new guy and he's new and he doesn't know a kettlebell from a dumbbell, but he's bringing something incredibly unique that you get to challenge yourself to wrap around and educate and bring him in and get him moving along on his path.
Yeah, super challenging and super elevating. It makes me a better coach, a better person, and that's all I want to do. Keep growing, keep learning, so that I can, better myself and everybody around me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what's next? What's the big thing? The big next piece? I know you just launched some new email newsletters on your website because I subscribe. I've seen some of the new stuff come through. Very cool. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag for the listeners and make them sign up for themselves, but you got some really good stuff. But what's the big next stuff that's coming up on the horizon for you?
I have a single kettlebell workout program coming out soon. So, if you're on the go, all you have access to is a couple kettlebells. All you need is one to get a full 8-week program for you. So it's going to be dope. It's like all kinds of kettlebell techniques and flows combined into my favorite workouts that have helped me and my clients get some of the best results. There's animal flow, all types of body weight movements, and different training techniques that I like to use, different like programming protocols that will help you see results with just your body weight and a single kettlebell.
That sounds.
So that's what's up next.
That sounds pretty cool. So, okay, wait, one more question. You mentioned animal flow a couple of times. What is animal flow?
Animal flow is a system of body weight movement that is very primitive in nature. There's a lot of different names for all these different kind of more fundamental body weight movements that when you combine them into the flow, you can do a lot of fun stuff, that helps you really open up, your body and your different tissues that you might be neglecting, and really, create a movement practice that's good for you and fun at the same time. It's a system that was developed by this guy, Mike Fitch, and he's been teaching it for, I think, over 6 years now, for a while, and it's pretty popular just because it's different, it's fun, it's like you feel like a primate, you feel like an animal, you feel like an ape, you feel like a crab, you feel like a scorpion, doing all these really dope moves that kind of look like you're breakdancing sometimes, and it's really pretty to watch and really challenging to do.
Very cool. Very cool, man. All right. Well, I don't want to take up all your time. I know you've got another call coming up in a little bit. I want to give you a breather in between. But before I let you go, do you want to plug your website, any of your social media? I know you've got a YouTube channel as well, which is also got a lot of fantastic content also.
Yeah, if you want to check out my stuff, you can go to ericleija.com, and I got workouts, courses, programs, all kinds of stuff for you to start training like me and the community that's around me. And I'm Primal Swoledier on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook too and YouTube. So check it out, try something new, let's have fun training together.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Thanks, man. Had a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, we will. Believe me.
Thank you.